Right, so it's the end of the month, so I'm back with my what to sow in December guide, and probably better phrased really as what not to grow in December guide, which is pretty much everything. I will give you a quick tour around what's going on in the greenhouse, and I'll talk a little bit about the very few things that I'm going to be sowing in December. So we'll get on quickly with a quick tour. I will do a proper seedling update in a separate video, but I've got a nice selection here of brassicas. So these are all the brassicas that will be eaten in spring, and there's a mix here of kales, various different cauliflowers, red cabbages. Maybe I'll eat some of these red cabbages in early summer, calabrese, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there I've got my furthest on cabbages, red cabbages. So hopefully I've eaten those towards the end of May, very early June. Got a few more behind there. Up here I've got my strawberry runners, and I thought I'd lost all these actually, all these strawberry plants, but they did eventually pull through, and I got these tiny little runners off them, and all of them are taken beautifully. I'm really happy with those. So these are Seascape, I think, or something like that. And they're an ever-bearing strawberry, so I'm hoping that I can use those for my late crop of strawberries in this greenhouse next year. And yeah, that's it up there really, everything that I wanted to talk about. The tomatoes are still doing okay. These, and I've got quite a few of these. I will probably be taking these out early December time probably and just ripening them in the kitchen, but for now they just add a bit of colour and structure to the greenhouse, so I'm quite happy to have them. The sun golds are pretty much finished now, just got a few, a week or so supply of those, but I want those out pretty soon because I want my early peas in here. I've got one batch of early peas down in that corner, but I've got space for 2 batches of early peas. And then in that space there where the peas are now and where that sun gold tomato plant is, that's where the nectarine and the apricot tree go over winter. So they'll be coming in here sometime towards the end of December probably. And I've got smallest last batch, not the last batch this year, but the last batch that will be planted this year of lettuces, and they're looking actually really nice. And then everything else in here is on my summer oh god, what am I doing today, my winter salad greens. So I've got loads of salad greens on the allotment, but as I've often mentioned, I do like to have some in here, partly because sometimes I just don't go down to the allotment enough to pick stuff. Sometimes it's just too foul weather to go down there. Sometimes I just want better quality leaves in my salad mixes than I've got on the allotment. And also I just like to be surrounded by, growing things in the greenhouse. Just cheers me up. So lots of nice reasons to do that. Cost-wise, it does cost a little bit to have the grow lights on. I can't remember what I worked it out at now, but certainly it's less than the harvest value of the salad greens. So that's really all that I care about. So yeah, let's get on with what I'm actually going to sow this month. So I am going to sow 1 batch of peas, Meteor, towards the beginning of December. As I say, they're going to go in one of these pots in the corner here. I do put them outside in April because I need these corner spots for my summer squash, my early summer squash. And the peas are quite happy outside in April anyway, so it's no big deal that. Sometimes I do a batch of salad onions, and I only really do a batch in December if the ones outside aren't looking like I'm going to have enough. If it looks like I'm going to have a shortage. Right now they're looking pretty good, but anyway, I'll take a look as I go into sort of December and sort of make an assessment as to whether I do a batch. It doesn't cost very much. Onion seeds are really cheap, so I might do some. And what I normally do is something like Lilia or North Holland Blood Red. Probably will do both. Those are both varieties bulb up. So if I end up not needing all my salad onions, I can let them bulb a bit, but they probably won't get to maturity before they go to seed. So I'll probably harvest them when they're sort of like an inch and a half sort of size. But that would still be really lovely, and probably do that in late May, June, something like that. I do sweet peppers, just enough to go underneath these grow lights down here. So that's I'll probably do about 10 or something like that. I'll probably do 12 and hope for 10 good ones. I've learned from experience there's not a lot of point doing sweet peppers in December unless you can get the fruit set on them before you put them in here in April, sort of, towards the middle of April, something like that, because it was too cold in here for fruit set, but it's not too cold for the peppers to grow quite happily. I will obviously keep them frost free, probably better than frost free, maybe about 8 to 10 degrees centigrade, something like that, which is, peppers don't mind that, provided they've already set fruit. So I need to set fruit whilst they're in the conservatory, and then hopefully I get a nice early crop. As I say, if you just put them out when it's sort of 10 degrees in here, they won't set fruit, and there'll be no, the harvest will be no earlier than if you just put them outside in May. So that's the peppers. And just scrolling down, I'm doing two varieties. I'm doing Akron and long yellow Ringo. Akron's a red one, long yellow Ringo is obviously a yellow one. So then I'll do a couple of brassicas. Most of my brassicas are here and they're growing nicely, as I said. I will do another batch of Calabrese. I like to do as many batches of Calabrese as I can get away with before I need the space for my summer crops. And what I find is a batch in December, that'll be probably out the ground certainly by the end of May, so that'll be okay. And we really like Savoy cabbage, but we like it as early as possible in spring. So I'm trialing Preludium. I did a lot of Preludium last year, and I grew a lot of really nice hearts in sort of at the end of May, very early June sort of time. I want to see if I can pull that forward a little bit, so I'll try probably some in December and see if they go to seed. That's always the issue with Savoy cabbages. If you do them too early, they'll just go to seed on you, and if you do them too late, well, then you're sort of missing an opportunity perhaps to get them really early. So what I like to do is harvest my overwintered veggies, things like the Brussels sprouts, the colettes, the kales, things like that, up until when the spring cabbages arrive. And then once my spring cabbages are starting to finish, I like to have Savoy cabbages. And then once the Savoy cabbages are starting to finish, I like to have my red cabbages. So that's kind of why I've got a nice succession going there. And then I'll probably do another batch of lettuce in addition to this one. And probably hold those in reserve. They will hold pretty long actually in a cold polytunnel, probably for as long as a month and just be fine. But as I say, just hold those in reserve just in case I have any problems. I might not, as I say, ever be able to plant those out. It depends on how things go. I always like to have spares. The varieties that I'm going to do are Valdor, Haflex, Navara, Riccia, Lola Rosso, and Flashy Lightning Butter Oak. And they're all my favourite spring varieties. So I've got loads and loads of lettuce that I'll be eating over winter, but I do like to have, a nice robust supply of lettuces going into spring. Probably harvest those towards the end of March, early April sort of time. And yeah, Asian greens. So I've got my Asian greens, actually got some Asian greens here, but I've got most of my Asian greens in the polytunnel. They're not looking as good actually as they have in previous years. We've had a few problems with caterpillars on them, but they're okay. They'll probably grow through that. But they do tend to go to seed towards the end of January, early February. And so I do like to have another batch on the way as quickly as possible. I've got one succession in the polytunnel right now that's sort of waiting for space to be planted out. And then I'll plant this next batch out as well. I won't need too much because I'm only using them for salad mixes. And somebody at the door. So let me just go and answer that. Yeah, so the Asian greens that I'm going to be doing are red stem, pak choi, komatsuma and tatsoi. And I think, yeah, that's it. So there's not very much really that I do at this time of year. I have got carrots coming up, which we'll be eating in spring. They're about that big at the moment, and they're in containers in the polysil. But other than that, that's most of the seedlings that I've got on the go. Obviously, I've got loads in the ground. So if you can't follow all that, don't worry. All the details are in the description of the video, and you can also subscribe to my newsletter. I highly recommend that actually. So you can find that at steverichards.substack.com. It's a weekly newsletter. It just goes through everything that's going on basically. So, you know, a bit of background as to the sort of general state of everything, and then a discussion of exactly what I'm doing. So what I'm sowing, what I'm pricking out, what I'm potting on, what I'm planting, and what I'm harvesting, all of that. So subscribe to that if you want. As I say, steverichards.substack.com. And that's me. See you soon.